If you ever want to know why we always keep our phones close, it's because the news is actively happening while we're on the air, including 2 minutes ago, where President Trump put a post on Truth Social saying that he was actually canceling signing that big bipartisan housing bill that just passed. Again, bipartisan through Congress. Trump was supposed to sign it today. Now he's saying he is canceling it until such time as we pass the Save America Act. He says he considers that bill to be a national emergency. This is once again, as we were talking about potential own goals from the president to Republicans in Congress, many of these Republicans planned to run on this bill, trying to tackle affordability issues ahead of the midterms. Of course, Democrats were going to do the same thing. It all now comes, of course, as President Trump is still lashing out on Truth Social at other lawmakers for passing a different resolution. This one would have blocked him from resuming the Iran war. He wrote on Truth Social that he has, quote, Iran on the ropes, and that the Senate just made his job more difficult. Now, 4 Republican senators broke ranks to vote for that resolution yesterday. It passed the House earlier this month. A lot for us to get back to with the group chat as we sort of unpack all of these things at once, right? There was supposed to be a tough lunch, Abby, as well as a bill signing, as well as negotiating around a reality check on the Save America Act. And now the president is dashing Republican hopes of having a new bill on affordability to run on, and also putting them again in a position where they're not going to pass this bill.
If you are a traditional, normal president, your entire job at this moment in time is to get those Republican senators reelected.
And yet here on Earth B,
there seems to be the only thing more fun than tormenting Democrats right now seems to be tormenting Senate Republicans. And he is making their lives actively harder. The SAVE Act he was using as leverage with the John Cornyn endorsement during the Senate race. That race is over. He has metaphorically already shot the hostage on this situation. And so you have just this... it just seems to be, this is going to land on him in 6 months if he loses the Senate, because he's not going to be able to get confirmations through, and this is all going to come to a head. We'll see if it flips.
We'll see if it flips. Also, though, think about the fact that Democrats actually feel that they could, and I say could because it's a long shot still to flip the Senate, but they were absolutely freaked if you go back a year ago looking at this map. And now the entire atmospherics seem to have changed and they feel they have the wind at their back. I think this is just another example of how Trump further complicates things.
Absolutely freaked is exactly right. I mean, one of the most interesting dynamics of his entire second term has been the vulnerability that Trump has opened up for himself is on this populist stuff. When he won, one of the ideas was this is a new kind of Republican who's going to come in here and do these populist things that are very exciting to a lot of voters, right? We think about those no taxes on tips in that big bill that he put out there, that a lot of Republicans did not like that kind of thing. This housing bill is one of those things where had to be pushed through a lot of people who are like, I don't know if I like this. The banks aren't happy with this. The developers don't love this. What should we do this? And this was supposed to be kind of like the change he was supposed to bring to the Republican Party that would create this, decades-long ascension of it. And this is the thing that they keep stumbling and falling flat on their face with. And you have another moment today where all that populism, all that conversation about houses, we're going to come make your houses cheaper. We're not going to do that because you have to pass a very esoteric and confusing bill about elections that your local election person, your local state leader, does not want us to pass.
Yeah, and
it's a very, very confusing move by the president.
And I also think that it's important for us to remind that it's not like for the Save America Act, every single Republican in the Senate is sitting there like, yes, we want to pass this. There is concern within the caucus. Yes, the majority of them might want it, but not in the numbers that they need. And so when you consider the fact that the president is going to this lunch in the immediate aftermath of this tweet, but then also the War Powers Resolution passing, I mean, what does it say?
I mean, he's got very little capital at this moment on any of these issues. The housing bill would seem to be, like you said, one of the Trump populist wins, also something that passed with bipartisan support. The abundance Democrats like it, progressives like it. You could make a case that it's going to have long-term positive effects that, Republicans can brag about later on as a, Trump-era accomplishment. Thune keeps saying SAVE Act is not happening. And, though the War Powers resolution was non-binding, it's still showing you that support for the war is not there, that if it ever actually went to a full binding vote, that he wouldn't get it. And so now he's going into this room saying this one win, forget that. And these other things that I probably won't win, I'm going to stamp my feet until you come to my side. I don't see it happening.
Let's stay on the war powers piece for a moment because we have a great viewer question from Melissa S. in Virginia. Abby, she says, why is the war powers resolution voted on by the Senate only symbolic? And if it's only symbolic, where are the checks and balances?
The checks and the balances come in appropriations, the government spending, which Congress is technically supposed to control. And that is why Elon Musk's Doge movement was so terrifying to the Congress. And so I think the question is whether Republicans are going to get to a point where they start cutting off funding for the president's initiatives. And I don't know if we'll get to that point, but boy, they seem frustrated.
They seem frustrated. And the other reason why this is largely symbolic is that if it were to become a law, Trump would have to sign it. He is not signing this. They don't have a veto-proof majority, and so that would leave it there. But then also, I'm pretty sure they did this as a concurrent resolution, and so it's through a different procedural mechanism on Capitol Hill. But nevertheless, the message, I think, is loud at a moment where, if the check comes on appropriation, this is a Congress that has not been briefed in a way that they appreciate. They don't feel they're getting transparency from the administration. They also were not able to vote to begin the Iran war, and yet here they are potentially on the hook to vote for $80 billion in extra spending to help replenish munitions stockpiles and other things because of actions in Iran. How do you think that lands?
I don't think it lands very well. So far, it hasn't. But I'm saying, the big challenge here for Trump is that he's in the Senate's world now. Like, this is different than the House. In the House, you can sort of twist arms and make the people do things. In the Senate, a lot of the stuff's going on right now is like the filibuster. Trump wants to get rid of it. Senators can just say, no, we're not doing that. Like, he has no real power to make that happen. So the more he sort of gets engaged with this esoteric Senate stuff, this very, senators doing senator stuff, this is their happy place. They don't have to fight him on Trump stuff. They don't have to fight him on MAGA politics. They can say, no, these are our rules. We're not going to change them. Sorry. And they can just do that. And that's what Thune keeps saying, right? It's not even a question of, is the SAVE Act a good idea or a bad idea? He's just saying, I can't blow up the filibuster. I don't have the votes. This is an easy place for them to fight him on because it's in their house.
It is on their own turf. And yet we have yet to see Republicans do any kind of major tangible pushback from the Hill. Maybe this is the point because the primaries are largely over, because November is closer than it is in the future mirror. Maybe this is the moment, but we have not seen it yet. We're going to wait to see what that lunch brings. And of course, we'll keep our phones close just in case.